they mainly had to do with other grievances that weren't related to the priorities or principles. But the 5 that we do, the first is referring and promoting illegal articles of impeachment. So we are all aware of the debate around whether the articles of impeachment against Ken Paxton were had to do with actions that were committed during his current term of office. However, the articles of impeachment had 4 articles that completely related to conduct that took place before he ever even became Attorney General. And so those articles were rejected by the Senate. They were not even heard. But the very fact that they were included in the articles of impeachment in order to get to 20 articles was a violation. And one thing that the resolution focuses on too, which I think was very wise by Jasper County, is it's actually very hard to find violations committed by a speaker, because the speaker doesn't usually vote. The speaker usually maintains neutrality in everything he does, and there are good reasons for that. So you can't usually say that they voted for something that was speaker broke neutrality and made sure that he was shown voting in favor. And so he voted in favor of articles of impeachment that were against the law, and that's our first count, limiting government power to those enumerated in the Texas Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Number 2, the expense of the Paxton impeachment trial. So records show, and I've looked at the most up-to-date reporting we have on this, that the overall cost of the impeachment has exceeded $4.2 million. And if you remember, the claimed impetus of this whole event was that General Paxton requested $3.3 million for a settlement. Now we've already spent 4.2 and no settlement even happened. And we don't know how high that number is going to go. 4.2 is what we have accounted for right now. At least 3.5 million of that was spent by the House on prosecution of the impeachment. The state auditor at Lieutenant Governor Patrick's request is investigating for more, and he's gone into great detail in his speeches about those expenses. What really blew my mind was one of the chief prosecutors, Dick DeGuerin, who actually said that he was going to get paid just in time for Christmas. So this is a violation of core principle number 5, which is personal accountability and responsibility. It was irresponsible, the amount of money that was spent. Number 3 is one we all know, which is appointing Democrat committee chairs. I have pictured here his criminal jurisprudence chairman, Joe Moody, in a Black Lives Matter shirt and a mask. And the argument that's often made here is that these appointments don't matter. These committees don't matter. And so why not appoint some Democrats for everybody getting along, or tradition, or whatever arguments they're making? Do you think criminal jurisprudence doesn't matter? You think that you can go through the list in the resolution of all the appointments that were made, having to do with children's health, lots of other subjects, but the bottom line is those are positions that should have been given to Republicans, that we asked to be given to Republicans, and instead they were given to Democrats. So that is our third ground for censure. Number 4 is killing HB 20, which was the original border security bill in the House. So HB 20 would have created a border protection force and implemented other border security measures. Speaker Phelan, at his own discretion, ruled that out of order. And I'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. But the substitute bill that was brought up immediately afterward, very quickly afterward, watered down the protection unit and removed the Texas Title 42 removal authority. Now, in a later special session, there was a bill that allowed expulsions, but it still did not go nearly as far as HB 20. And again, the only reason HB 20 didn't pass is because at the Speaker's sole discretion, he killed the bill on a point of order. And that's a violation of priority number 2, which is securing the border and protecting Texans. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about why that happened. Don't blame the House parliamentarian. Parliamentarians in this body, in the Texas House, at convention, anywhere, and I'm sorry, but parliamentarians don't make decisions. Parliamentarians advise. It is the chair, the speaker, the president of the society who actually makes decisions. However, the speaker does hire the parliamentarian, and our current parliamentarian is a guy named Hugh Brady, who is an attorney who served in the Obama White House from 2014 to 2017. He founded, although he doesn't currently work for, but he founded a firm that is currently being retained by local governments, including the city of Austin and Harris County, to find points of order on bills. Harris County taxpayers are paying the law firm he founded to find points of order on legislation they don't like so that he can advise the speaker to rule against it. That's going on right now. But it's not the parliamentarian's fault. He's doing his job. He's doing the job he was hired to do. It's the fault of the person who hired him. So next slide. Number 5 is opposition to school choice. So when the Jasper County resolution cited events that happened in the regular session, and just to go back to the regular session, the state Senate passed a school choice bill. The state House passed a school finance bill, HB 100, that did not include school choice. And so the two bills were supposed to go to a conference committee so that a conference committee could hammer out a compromise that would give a bill back to both houses that could be voted on. The conferees that Speaker Phelan appointed for HB 100 were school choice opponents, and they refused to pass a bill out of the conference committee. The chief negotiator for the House, Ken King, actually issued a statement explaining why they were not going to pass anything out. Those are people that Speaker Phelan appointed. And again, we did not act at that time. Many months were given for the House to act on school choice, and we all know what ultimately happened, which was the Rainey Amendment, which was all of the Democrats and 21 Republicans voting together to take the governor's school choice priority out of the school finance legislation. So now we have no school choice, no school finance changes, and it was at the behest of all of the Democrats and a few Republicans under the speaker's leadership. So, and that was our 8th legislative priority. So to sum it all up, we have 2 violations of our principles, 3 violations of our local government, or our legislative priorities. Every requirement was met. Rule 44 allows for the action that I'm about to move that we take place, and so that is the motion I'm going to make, which is to adopt the resolution censuring Dade Phelan by the Republican Party of Texas.
Can you go to the mic?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully disagree with the interpretation of Rule 44 presented to us by Mr. Phelan, and I believe that this motion is out of order.
The point of order is overruled.
Then I appeal the chairman's ruling.
Is there a second? Hearing a second, we now go to appealing the ruling of the chair on the, yeah.
Can we ask for a record vote on this appeal?
Do we do it now? Yeah.
So I move to ask for a record vote.
There's been a motion to ask for a record vote on the appeal of the ruling of the chair. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. We start now. The chair will present argument, and then we'll have 3 for, 3 against, pursuant to the rules. So can we bring up the reference to Rule 44? Thank you. Okay, I wanted you guys to see the language. So I assume the argument is that, I'm sorry, let me go to that later. I'll do it during my rebuttal. But what we do is we look at the original meaning of the text. If we're originalists, we're textualists. We look at the original meaning of the text, because when a statute's passed, do you look at the intent of the author, the Rules Committee members, or every one of the 5,200 delegates who voted on that rule? You can't. The best evidence of intent is the original meaning of the text at the time it was passed. Now, we apply a canon of construction to lists like this. It would be the nearest reasonable reference canon. when the syntax involves something other than a parallel series of nouns or verbs, a prepositive or postpositive modifier applies only to the nearest reasonable referent. Punctuation, by the way, is permissive, but is not a dispositive indicator of meaning. If you look, this is not a parallel series of nouns. SREC and any state convention held prior to the start of the period of a Republican primary. For example, if you take out any state convention and just left SREC, it wouldn't make any sense. Such a resolution may indicate a request to the SREC held prior to the start of a filing period. That makes no sense interpreted that way. So we must default to the nearest reasonable referent in that held prior to the start of the filing period of a Republican primary election modifies state convention and not SREC. I believe that's the plain meaning of that term. It's the meaning when we apply canons of construction to the rule, and it's the proper ruling in this instance. So I ask that you vote yes to uphold the ruling of the chair. Do you want to talk?
The ruling of the chair, or are we debating the
We get 3-4-3 against? 3-4-3 against, we can debate. On the appeal.
Jim Pickle, SD8. First, with all due respect, there's no referent issue here. The sentence, although it's been nicely colored for us, we talk about a resolution may include a request. Okay, who's the request made to? It's made to the SREC or any state convention, and held prior to the start of the filing period modifies both of those. And here's why I say that. There's other portions of this rule that you have to read along with this. You can't read this out of context. So if you'll pull my other references up. One standard of statutory or rule construction is that you have to read the entire rule in context, not leaving anything out and not making anything be redundant or unnecessary or void. So there's a section that says, that's what we talked about first, held prior to the start of the filing period. And then it says, files an application to run following the censure. Okay? I had these all pulled up a minute ago, I'm sorry. They were supposed to have them all highlighted already. There it is. Yes. No, you go down, files an application to run. I think it's in the first.
It's above.
Yeah. He took a picture of the highlights. Sorry, Chairman. All right. It's also part of Rule 44. Okay. It says, if the office holder files an application to run for any public office in the Republican Party primary following the censure resolution's passage. That means if the office holder files an application before the censure resolution's passage, this can't be fulfilled because it has to be after he files. And here, he's already filed. We are after the filing period, and you can't go back in time and censure him when he's already filed to run because this penalty provision would not apply. Also, let's look at when the penalty expires. Let's say we impose a penalty. Any above penalty imposed shall expire on the date of the primary runoff in which the office holder would be up for re-election. So what's going to happen here is that this primary that's going on right now, this penalty can't be imposed, but just for several weeks. The whole idea of Rule 44 is to discourage people that are in office that are violating our principles from running again. We're going to spend money when they run in the primary. We're going to censure, we're going to tell people not to vote for them. We're going to discourage them from running again. Once they're running,
time's up,
can't do
Mr.
it.
Pickle.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Point of information. Chris Burrow, SD3. The last clause that he was speaking of.
Chris,
Swear you
talk
people.
loud.
Chris Bro, SD3. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Good deal. The clause he was speaking about only refers to the penalty of us spending up to 12%. It does not apply to us passing a censure. So we can pass the censure, but we cannot, after the filing point, we cannot penalize him with spending money, as it says, to educate the party on why we censured him. So we can't spend money on his opponent. And we can't spend money telling people why we censured him, because it's already after the filing date and we will be using his money against him, his filing fees against him.
We will not be using his filing fees against him.
I mean, I'll allow it, Mr. Chair.
Separate account. Anyone else? Okay. I have a rebuttal just hitting what was already said. First of all, I do respectfully disagree, Chris. And the point of order, I would say, is on the applicability of the rule in its entirety after the filing period. Even assuming that the original clause meant what it means, it would only apply to the primary, but that's not the censure itself. That wasn't the point of order. I want to take the highlighted language that Jim put in section 1 up. Yes. Okay, yeah, that's better. If the office holder files an application to run for any public office in the Republican primary following the censure resolution's passage, the SREC shall be authorized to spend up to 12%. If the office holder files an application in the primary following the censure resolution's passage, here Representative Phelan did file an application to run in the primary following this resolution's passage on March 5th. Lastly, Jim had talked about the penalty lasting only several weeks. If it only lasts several weeks, then so be it. You still pass the resolution, or you still address the resolution. Thank you. And by the way, I ask you vote yes. A yes vote would sustain the ruling of the chair. A no vote would overrule the ruling of the chair, and we would not take up the censure resolution.
Mr. Chair, I move to divide the question. We vote on.
We're not doing that now.
We can't do that.
No. Yeah. Now, we're on the motion to overrule the chair. Okay, we're going to vote. It's a record vote, so vote with your pads. A yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair, and we'll take up the resolution. A no vote overrules the ruling of the chair, and we won't take up the resolution. Please vote now. Do we have it up? Yeah. So people, yes is 1, no is 2. I don't think mine's working. Mine's not. Raise your hand if yours is not working. Do you want hey, do you want to record anybody whose isn't working?
It gave me a green.
We're pointing over here at Mike for your vote. That might help get a couple in. Point, don't throw stuff. Oh, yeah. Slide this. There we go. You.
Scroll down. Down.
More. More.
Ken Moore. Go down. Roman. Becky. Down. Down. Carmen. Down. Tisha. Down. Okay. Voting's closed in 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 51 to 11 to 2, the ruling of the chair is sustained. Now we'll move on to debate. We're debating the censure motion 343 against.
Chris Burrow, SD3. I think out of everybody in this room, I'm probably the only person that can say I have been friends with Dade Phelan for most of my life. I grew up, we were a year apart in high school. We went to different high schools, but our high schools played football against each other and we were friendly. And I've known Dade since we were teenagers. He's always been a little bit of an arrogant jerk, but he's also been very generous. Now, Dade comes from a very wealthy family. There is a Phelan Boulevard in the town I grew up in. There ain't no Bro Boulevard anywhere near where I grew up. Dade has been very generous to me personally in my political career, such as it is. And he's been wildly generous with Jefferson County and the Republican Party, the Republican women's groups there. If we were judging Dade based on his generosity, this could never pass. But we're not. We're voting based on what he's done that violated our rules. I wish that I could support Dade Phelan in this, but I can't. He's wrong, and he's been obstinate in his wrongness. I will be voting yes to censure Dade with a heavy heart. Like I said, we depend on Dade in Southeast Texas for our Republican Party to run. And this is going to hurt us, but it's the right thing to do. I suspect it'll pass. When it does, please join me. Sorry. In passing this with a heavy heart, because we are disciplining one of our children who has gone astray. And he is going to lash out at us, but it's right to discipline our children. Please don't celebrate when this passes. Please don't cheer. Do it with a tear in your eye, because the repercussions are going to be bad for my local people. They're going to feel it. They're going to be homeless. They're going to lose their headquarters. The Republican women are going to have a hard time having their luncheons because Dade Phelan is their sugar daddy. They've gotten in bed, and there's nothing they can do but support him. He pays the rent. So with a contrite heart, please join me in voting and withhold your applause and your cheering, because it's not a happy day. It's a very sad day. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Poyman?
In order to speak against?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of this body, my name is Dr. Joe Poyman, and I'm Fernando Trevino's proxy for SD14, and I oppose this motion to censure. I urge you to vote no. I've been active in supporting electing conservative Republicans to federal, state, and local office in Texas for more than 3 decades. Since 1992, I've attended every RPT state convention, that's 16 in all. I'm executive director of Texas Alliance for Life and founded it more than 35 years ago. I have lobbied in our Capitol building for pro-life laws since 1987. Over those 36 years, the positive changes have been enormous, beginning with virtually no protections for unborn babies. And over the years, the state has achieved significant gains, like parental notification and consent for minor girls to have abortions, protection from murder and assault for unborn babies, and informed consent for women in 2003, creation of and funding of the highly successful Alternatives to Abortion program in 2005, the sonogram bill, which was authored by then Senator Dan Patrick, and we were working with him on that, helped him carry that, and defunding Planned Parenthood in 2011, House Bill 2, the 20-week ban and abortion facility safety standards in 2013, bans on partial birth abortion and dismemberment abortion in 2017, so much more. All have advanced the pro-life cause, but the greatest, most impactful advances have been in 2021 and 2023. Through the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Speaker Dade Phelan, the latest appropriation for the highly successful Alternatives to Abortion has increased to $165 million. That's $65 million increase, 65% from the previous year. No other state has anything like that. Because of the Texas Heartbeat Act and the Human Life Protection Act, both passed in 2021, reported elective abortions in Texas have plummeted from thousands per month to 0. Yes, 0. All 23 abortion facilities in Texas have stopped performing abortions. The industry has collapsed. Dade Phelan is the most pro-life speaker this state has had in modern times, certainly in the 6 speakers that I have lobbied for pro-life laws. Thousands of babies are now born each month who would otherwise have died tragic deaths from abortion. Tragedies for countless women and families have been averted. Some of our grandchildren may be born because of Dade Phelan. I urge you to vote no on this resolution.
Thank you. There was a point of order because he's reading from papers. Sorry, that was by Richard Hayes. Go ahead.
I'm going to urge everyone to vote for the censure. I've been to Orange County. It's not even my district. I've talked to a lot of the good people there, some of them even in tears, saying how hard they work for conservative values, and Dade fights them. So I very much appreciate my dear friend Chris and his remarks. I'm from South Chicago, and there's a club up there that buys a lot of influence, and they're evil, and people look the other way because of the money, and you can't look the other way because they pay for your lunches and they do stuff. You have to say there's right and there's wrong. And Dade Phelan is wrong for the House. He's wrong for Texas. Those wonderful things that were read a moment ago, I say they were passed in spite of Dade Phelan, not because of Dade Phelan. He has fought conservatives over and over and over. I urge you strongly to vote yes for the censure of Dade Phelan. Thank you. Galen Minesti for.
That's so we've had 2 for, 1 against.
Against.
Okay.
Jim Pickle, SD8. I stood here a couple of meetings ago and presented and forced and got you guys to agree to pass a resolution condemning the impeachment of Ken Paxton. The reason that we did that was not on the merits of the impeachment. The reason we did that was because they didn't follow the rules in the General Investigating Committee when they impeached him. They didn't swear witnesses. They held it in 48 hours. They messed up the rules. So we pride ourselves on being a party that follows the rules. And we have to follow the rules because I've heard people in here tell me, well, the Democrats don't follow the rules, so we shouldn't either. Okay, time out. That is the only thing that separates us from them, besides red and blue colors on our shirts. The only thing that separates us is we follow the rules and they don't. And I've looked at this rule, and this Rule 44 does not allow us to censure him. Now, on the merits, I'm all for it. Vote against it.
Mr. Chairman, Rachel Horton, SD30. I rise in support of the motion to censure.
Yes.
We've heard some good moving statements, and we've definitely heard the facts about, the interpretation of the rules and whatnot. I do kind of want to bring this back into some perspective, because we started this consideration of the motion to censure, this discussion of censorship, back in January, when we begged with the Speaker's leadership not to appoint Democrat chairs, when we begged with the Speaker's leadership to pay attention to our RPT legislative priorities. It took us a regular session and 4 special sessions just to get through those RPT legislative priorities. I want you guys to remember some of that heartache and some of the headache that it took us to get where we are. Yes, we're celebrating conservative victories. Yes, we're celebrating those. But at the same time, it cost taxpayers time and money that was absolutely unnecessary. I thought Chairman Bowen's point to the parliamentarian issue is absolutely on point. The chairman does not have to listen to the advice of the parliamentarian. It's advice. It is not the law of the chamber in question. I will be rising in support, wanting to pass censure resolutions against the Speaker because his influence in the House has cost our cause. And for that reason, I think it's any time is the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Donnie?
Mr. Chairman, again,
This is going to be the last one.
Baker, SD1.
Yep, last one.
I stand before you today not to defend Dade Phelan. I wished I could be standing up here supporting this thing. But respectfully, I disagree with most of you, as evidenced by the vote on the chair and the chairman, on what the rules say. I read the rules. I've reread the rules. I have read them numerous times. I read the whole rule. And I just don't think that we can be doing this now on this censure, because in this censure, it asks, the bottom of it asks for the punishment. And that's supposed to have happened before. And unfortunately, I don't know. I wasn't here in, I believe it's November, December. At that one, I wasn't here when that one come up before us at the resolution committee. But I know if it's like most of the resolutions that come up, we doctor them up considerably before they ever get here. And so even if it started in March, it was not, I don't believe it was the text that we're voting on today. Okay? And so I can't vote for this. And, you know, we used as a fundraiser, the party used as a fundraiser, what a great legislative session we had and how much we had accomplished. What kind of hypocrisy is it if we try to get money from people, telling them how great we are, and then on the other hand, we come along and we pull it back and say, well, the speaker is no good and we need to censure him. Now, folks, I'm here to tell you, I'm up here telling you not to vote on your emotions. That's the way Democrats do. If we pass this censure, we're going to be just as guilty of the Democratic election officials in 2020 that changed the election laws without their legislatures giving them permission to do so. We're going to be just as guilty as they are, because we are ruling again. We're making a ruling, or we're going to be voting against something that we don't like. And so we're going to bend the rules a little. But folks, we are supposed to be a deliberative body that is constrained by rules. If we have no rules, we will fall into chaos. And I tell you, I am not going to support this, not for my love of Dave Phelan. I'm going to not support this because of my love for this body and for our party. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 3, 4, and 3 against.
Point of information, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
please state your point of information.
Well, the vote we're about to take, are we concurring with one of the 3 counties the speaker represents? Or are we doing a new censure on our own? Because I believe the original censure was filed in time.
We are concurring with with Jasper County, which is one of the. We are concurring with some of the charges brought by Jasper County, which is one of the counties that he represents.
Okay, we'll now move to vote. Please use the voting buttons. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain. You guys ready? Sorry, hold on. Okay, we're gonna start. Okay, can you go to the list so we know who vote? Cheryl, Howard, Chuck, Fernando, Chuck. Point it towards us. It's not. Hey, Chuck, how you voting? Just tell us. Is it I or nay? What is it? Hey, all right. There you go. All right. Order. That's everybody here? Okay. Voting is closed in 3, 2, 1. Let's look at the totals by a vote of 50. Come on, Micah. 55 to 4 to 4. The ayes have it. The motion passes.